Today, the moon goes from meaning making, storytelling, Sagittarius into strength building Capricorn. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro vibe for Tuesday, August 5th. And with that shift of the moon into Capricorn, we get grounded. Capricorn is an earth sign, so focusing on our bodies and what we need on the physical level, but also how we want to think about backbone and structure and how we can continue the work of building strength and confidence and bolstering those foundations. So that shift takes place at 10:03 a.m. Pacific time. The moon goes from Sagittarius into Capricorn. Yesterday I shared about the Sagittarius moon and how we are seeing that bigger picture, that ability to see the patterns and tell a story, make some meaning out of what has been transpiring, and picking out, I guess, the points that feel relevant. So when we tell the story, we always have our own lens to how that story comes across. And so that was the message of yesterday. And today, focusing on those foundations that are going to help us feel strong, feel self-reliant, feel like we can build something. And so focusing on what makes you feel strong, what nurtures you in that way. Capricorn is not really known for nurturing. It's the opposite of Cancer, right? Cancer is the nurturing sign. Capricorn is the hard authority way of having to discipline yourself and do the hard work and prove yourself and all those things. So that is what Capricorn is about. But we can still think about nurturing and nourishment. So nurturing with Capricorn and self-care with Capricorn looks like getting those basics, right? Back to basics. What are the foundations of what you need to feel strong, to believe in yourself? So it could be as simple as getting enough rest, eating some good food, having a conversation with a friend, but it also could be getting organized, making a plan, thinking about your strategy and what that looks like and feels like for you. So working on those foundations. We also have Mars Mars is finishing up its time in Virgo, and it's at 29 degrees, so the anaretic degree of Virgo. And that is a placement that means that a planet is finishing up its time in a sign. So Mars will go into Libra on Thursday. Let's see. No, actually Wednesday. Mars goes into Libra on Wednesday. So we are finishing up the time of Mars in Virgo, and that 29 degrees means something is coming to a head. Something is revealing itself because it needs to be reckoned with. So there is a reckoning of that Virgo energy. What isn't right? What do we need to see in its imperfection? That Virgo discerning eye that can see what is not finished, what is not ready, what is not good enough, what is not complete, right? And we tend to heap that self-criticism onto ourselves, but when you understand that it is a deeper energy pattern, we can think about this Mars in at 29 degrees Virgo as something needing to be seen in its incompletion, something we need to recognize. Oh, there's some still work needed there. Something is not ready. Something needs to be noticed in what's wrong with it so that we can do that work of fixing and repairing and perfecting and improving upon it. So something, right? It could be anything that is showing up in your life to be given that attention, to be seen in its imperfection. Then we have over the weekend, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, really after Mars goes into Libra on Wednesday, it begins to activate an opposition to, it's already activating it because it's already within a couple of degrees of an opposition to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And then Mars will also be activating, it will be forming a grand trine with Pluto and Uranus, which remember, and I've been talking about how those outer planets are in a double sextile. So Pluto and Uranus are in a trine that's 120 degrees. So if you remember geometry class, when you had to find the angles of an equilateral triangle, so we've got all three sides of the of this triangle are the same, and that means that the angles are each 120 degrees. 120 times 3 is 360. 360 degrees is a circle. So each of those angles is 120 degrees. So we've got Pluto, Uranus, and Mars once it goes into early Libra, activating that trine in Mars, forming a grand trine. And also that opposition to Saturn and Neptune at the same time. So what is that saying? It's bringing in the energy of Mars in Libra. And Mars is the warrior planet. It is the planet of action, of movement, of needing to take risks and find courage and do something, not just sit around thinking about it or talking about it or waiting for it to happen, but to take action. So Mars in Libra says, yes, you need to take action, but also you need to seek balance. And Libra is about getting along with other people, right? It's the sign of relationship. It's the sign of partnership and cooperation. So there's something that we need to take action on in order to see something from someone else's perspective. And this is really important because of that Saturn Neptune almost conjunction in Aries that is pushing us into new beginnings. It's saying it's time to be bold, time to take risks, time to be courageous. I've been speaking about that with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And then Mars is the ruler of Aries. It is the planet that these two are going to be looking to say, well, how do I take risks? How should I be bold? What needs my courage? And it's Mars in Libra. So it's saying you need to be courageous in learning how to get along with other people. Now, that may be very close to home, right? It could be an intimate partner or a spouse. It could be in those romantic relationships where you feel that the head-butting moments or that irritation or whatever it is that creates conflict in relationship and needing to find higher paths through that. So in other words, not getting stuck in the place where I said this and he said that, or she said this and I said that, or whatever, but getting into that place of like, well, how do we move forward together? How do we see ourselves as unified and able to move forward, even though we're different people and we have different needs? So finding that common ground, finding that ability to work together, it takes creativity, it takes openness, it takes a willingness to change, a willingness to grow, right? So that's going to be this energy of Mars activating this early degree of Libra. So between 0 and 2 degrees Libra, it will be really exact with Pluto and some of the other planets. So So that Mars bringing in that need to get along. Oh, I was going to say also, so it could be an intimate partner, but it could also be someone else. It could be a friend, a coworker. It could be a stranger. It's that experience of what it means to try to accomplish something with another person. So, what if you're going to the grocery store and you run into somebody in the aisle and it's a total stranger and you have a conflict over, I don't know what, like who's going to get this can of beans or whatever, right? Like you get the idea, like it could be a stranger. So it's how you're going to work that through together, even if you don't know each other. And it could be somebody who sees the world really differently from you. So maybe you have your perspective, and maybe somebody else sees things completely different or completely the opposite or the same but in a different way. And so it is about how is that going to be true, and you're still going to move forward together. And isn't that just so key to what is happening in the wider world at this time? We have oppositional forces, opinions, beliefs, things that are really very much on different sides of the fence. But how are we going to work together? How are we going to listen to each other and our deeper needs so that we can find common ground? How are we going to make this work? How are we going to move something forward or in a healing direction or in the direction that we want to see because it's important to us, right? If maybe you've got an ideal of something that you want to see happen in the world and not everybody agrees with you, or there's a family member who really sees it differently, but it's like, how do you need to slow down and listen and find ways to make it work so that you can move forward, right? So that you and not alone. It's not about leaving people behind, but it's also not about there's this thing of not jumping in with somebody who's drowning, right? Because then you drown too. But there's also this thing, and I think this Mars in early Libra lesson is going to be about how do we move forward in our humanity, recognizing the humanity of other humans around us, and how do we find those creative ways to move forward, and where do we get in the way of that? So, thinking about yourself and your self care and asking yourself, where do I interfere with my own ability to work together with others? And how can I get creative? How can I think outside the box to get others either on board, or if they can't agree with me, how are we going to do this? How are we going to move forward in the direction that feels important? Because what is calling you forward most likely is really important, and it's important to get creative and get outside the box in how we think about our differences. So those are just some off the cuff thoughts about what we're looking at with this Mars in Libra energy. And really today, as we complete the Mars in Virgo, having this opportunity to think about where some house cleaning is needed, where some repair is needed, where we can work on improvements so that we are most fully available for those Libran compromises and ability to find common ground, and maybe sometimes an ability or a need to let go of our attachments in order to get where we want to go. So those are my thoughts. Thank you for being here. I'm Marina Orms. You can book a reading with me at astrologyheals.com. I'm going to be having a rate increase here coming up soon. So now is a great time, if you've been thinking about getting a reading, to go ahead and book that with my current rates. So astrologyheals.com is where you do that. And if you have any questions about what a reading looks like or what to expect, or maybe you've never had a reading and you just have questions, go ahead and email me and my team at info@astrologyheals.com, and we'll get all your questions answered. Thanks for being here and for subscribing. And don't forget to check out my member site. The link is in the description for this video. I'm here every day with astrology for unshakable self-care, and I will see you next time.